Hello.
Hello.
Of course, first of all, let us know if you can hear us. You will notice our new snazzy location.
We're quite low on the screen, aren't we?
There you go.
Hi everyone. Can you hear us all right? So this is great. We can see ourselves and we can see your comments as well. And I think you can't see it on the screen, but we're actually at a table. So
Yeah.
we've got a whole like new studio vibe going on. I feel like I need some papers.
And our lovely pictures.
You know. Yes, new pictures, new office. Should we show them the new office?
We can certainly try. Ooh, as I step on the microphone.
And that's when the podcast went horribly wrong.
Doo-doo-doo.
Note the skull without eyes.
Which is surprisingly heavy.
There are devs doing dev
Liam,
things.
say hello.
Hello.
Woo!
Working very hard,
Obviously. And back to Paul and I.
Bit more, bit more.
Mm.
Was it on that side? I can't remember. Yes.
Yeah, it's fine.
Hi everyone. Right, who've we got?
Hey, Krista.
So, Albion.
Was so exciting. I don't know if anybody noticed because I was quietly doing all the comm stuff on Albion Day, but I was like ready to jump out of my seat and dance.
There was an energy coming from the comms desk, sort of waves of dark
Yeah.
energy.
I need that for all the spell casting that I do for marketing, so that's good.
It was a lot of fun getting it launched actually. It's nice to get it out because we've been building it so long.
Yes, definitely.
Um,
And it was like the original sort of idea that we had for Skies, right?
yeah, when we were doing the prototyping in the Kickstarter, if you can remember that far back, everything was purple. The little prototype video we did for the Kickstarter was purple, and we were Albion was originally going to be where you started. So it was it had been the basis of a lot of our visual thinking about what the game was going to feel like and going to look like and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And then we said, actually, no, let's start out in the wilds and let people work their way in and discover the city. Oh, spoiled! Fantastic! I'm glad you like it. I didn't draw it actually.
But you could take the credit because you're here, so...
No, that would be evil. It's a chap called John Aggs who's doing a lot of icon work for us, and his stuff is so beautiful. If you've seen things like the Cage Catch and the Condemned Experiment in game, they're all him.
I love the Condemned Experiment.
God,
It's so good.
So anyway, yeah, we ended up starting in the Reach and letting people work their way inwards. So actually, while in Summer Sea you start in Fall London, you can't get to London in Summer Skies for quite a while. So it's quite a big reveal when you get there.
Definitely. And we'd love to know too, like how you guys are finding getting to Albion, if that was any sort of trouble. Obviously, we tried to give some good directions in all the like messages and things went out, but let us know if you think that it's still quite difficult to find.
I didn't want to make it too easy to find.
Yeah.
I mean, I did. There were arguments. So the thing, I mean, on the one hand, you put a new zone in the game, and you want people to go there immediately and go, oh wow, fantastic. But at the same time, a lot of the content there is higher level. And what we didn't want was for people to jump in the game having never played it before, go to Albion, get immediately killed, be unable to do any challenges, and be like, what is this rubbish?
Yeah, we don't want to frustrate anybody.
Yeah. I mean, we're not from software. We're not going to make you play the whole game before you get to the extra region. But we thought it was nice to have people have a build up to it. Oh, I'm sorry. Can you not load the game?
Are you on a Mac by any chance? Because usually the people that we've seen that have that problem are Mac users, and an uninstall reinstall usually fixes it.
Yeah.
But let us know. We're now waiting on the delay, so.
Pop us a mail to support at Failbetter and we'll sort you out.
Yeah, Lesleyann's been doing a phenomenal job sorting through all the quick fixes and things like that, so I'm sure she'll be keen to help anybody who can't get into the game.
So I thought we could talk through the segments, like, or the areas, I suppose. I don't know if you'll have seen them all. I don't want to spoil too much, obviously, but we can give you a sort of quick... Oh, okay, I'm occasionally reverberating.
Kind of cool.
Yeah,
it might just be your voice.
Yeah, that's just me. Possibly it's a beard effect. I'm really hairy. I'm so sorry. I was a bit reluctant to come on today because I'm so hairy. I've got this whole sort of Sean Murray thing going
I did notice you seem to have styled it differently this morning.
I don't see anything I can do with it. So next time I come on one of these things, I shall be Sean in the.
Or we could get you a fancy hat.
Hmm.
You never know. You could be very piratey.
I've still got your Boston cap.
Oh, really?
Haley gave me a Boston cap. She saw me wearing a New York Yankees cap and was deeply offended.
Very offended.
Also, probably brought me a new one, which is very nice of her. Oh, thank you so much.
And just as a note, if your bug report's in, then I'm sure that Lesleyann will be getting to you shortly. So hopefully, just sit tight, and we will help you get in.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. It must be really frustrating, but we will fix you up. So here's what you're missing. Areas of that felt so mean. I'm so sorry. I really hope we do get it sorted for you. So the first place you'll see as you arrive is the Brabazon work world, which wasn't originally going to be the first place you saw. Actually, we were going to start players off in the Royal Society.
Oh, really?
The Orms World.
Yes. All the names that I cannot pronounce.
Yeah, the idea there was that you move from the edge of the map towards London, so you got more of a journey in.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, we felt like we wanted to show off a bit, and Toby has done this incredible job making Brabazon feel vertiginous and
definitely
and deep and full of light and life, and it's such a contrast to such a contrast to the Reach, which is all sort of vines and verdants and so on and so forth. And then suddenly you're in this industrial hellhole, and there are cogs, and there are little trains running under.
And it's so smog. Like you get that sense of it being so industrial and smoggy and gross for your lungs.
And we felt that that was just it was a nice set piece moment, along with the gates, which I'm so happy with. How are you? Did you enjoy the hyper gates, guys?
They're certainly one of my favorite parts of the trailer, and I have a soft spot for them as well because I pestered Chris to come up with a fun name for them, and we decided on the Rattling Jack, which I think is really cool.
That's so nice, yeah.
We wanted something akin to the Spinning Jenny vibe.
Yeah, no, that sense of, because the brief was just like, it's a Stargate, but for Victorians. And we wrestled with that for a bit, because finding a new concept for something that, you see in 100 movies. And they're all the same thing, they're all like a hoop.
Yeah.
You fly through, which is hopeless in top down, because that's just a line, So we ended up sort of turning it on its side. And Toby did all this wonderful animation work with the correspondent sigils lining up and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I love that animation.
And so that's a really fun start. Let me just see if we have questions while I'm doing this. Oh, bless you. I heard you can now kill a star. Are there more stars if people find they enjoy celestial murder? I'm not sure that's behaviour we want to encourage, honestly. The option to murder a star is not something we would necessarily recommend. And you've seen what happens in the past when players do stuff that we don't recommend. There's terrible consequences for them. So
you should always listen to us. Yes.
But you never know. Maybe if it does turn out to be popular. So moving on from Brabazon, what else have we got? We mentioned the Royal Society, which is like a little bit of the Reach.
Yeah, it does have that nice sort of lush quality to it.
It's got garden sprinklers, which I'm really pleased about. And that was actually again another reason to move it, because you went, okay, I'm leaving the Reach, I'm leaving all this behind, and I arrived at, it's a little bit that's just like the Reach.
Yeah.
Disappointing. So just make it as Albion as possible. And also in that section we have this enormous maze of twisted rocks and time wefts, which are again one of my favourite effects. I particularly like the way they distort the text around them.
Definitely.
It just feels really, and you can fly into those and have sort of tiny encounters.
That's the technical term, people don't get too lost.
Tiny wimey encounters. Proper term. What else? Walbury Juxtabear.
Which is like the worst thing to try to say as an American.
I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing it.
I'll just blame Chris, because I'm sure he was the one responsible.
But
it is lovely and very seasidey.
Yeah. When we started talking about this, the phrase "dark Brighton" came up a lot. And that's essentially what we ended up doing. Will we see the Clockwork Chant? Spoiled Chestnut, I am going to say yes. You will, if you can find it. It is there. And it's quite the thing. Yeah, Walbury is the little seaside resort with some bizarre donkeys, and surrounding Walbury there's a misty sea, which is quite stressful to navigate because there are giant things under the misty sea that
That does not sound good at all.
Say hello.
My initial reaction is nope.
Well, that's the reaction we're aiming for. So, yeah, we're doing it with the Clockwork Sun. Yes, Clockwork Sun's definitely in.
Some other London-y bits as well.
There's some super story around the Clockwork Sun as well, which I think was Harry.
Yes, it was.
He's written this really sort of dark and twisted story to go into the port, which is suitable because obviously it's one of the weirdest things in the game.
And if you've played his game, A House of Many Doors, then you will know that sort of vibe that Harry has when he writes. So.
Yeah, no, it's not cheery.
But it is delicious.
Indeed. What else have we got? I
The House of Chimes, that I think I saw somebody somewhere describe as a giant asteroid floating in space.
Oh yeah, the floating Parliament and Big Ben. Well, not Big Ben. I've been told off for this. Big Ben is the bell. It's like Frankenstein is not the monster.
I enjoy that those are parallel things.
Somebody was asking on Twitter how the bell can still ring when it's sort of off in space. And the answer is there is
always so technical here.
I mean, this is actually a thing in Paul and London for Exceptional Friends, isn't it? The House of Chimes is the sort of exclusive members club that you can visit if you give us a tiny bit of money. And it has the single longest story in the entire game.
Yep.
With I think 36 options, something insane.
Wow.
Like that. Yeah.
I don't think I
it's
even.
Nuts. So now it's transplanted to. Did I say that right? Transplanted.
Yes.
To space, alongside Parliament, which was originally obviously part of London, but refused to do what it was told and got promptly sort of hacked off by Queen Victoria and sent off into exile. And at the floating Parliament, you can play a bunch of stuff that lovely Richard has written, which is full of brilliant gags and bureaucracy and jokes about Parliament.
That sounds very much like Richard.
It's good, yeah. You can make laws, I think, which is
oh no,
make new laws for the region. I'm just still trying. I have a diagram over my desk because I lose track of this stuff. So we talked about Brabazon. We talked about Clockwork.
How about Perdurance? That's one.
Perdurance, yeah. Perdurance is a sort of weird and spooky debutante's ball in space, and it has this really crazy design. Again, that Toby did. There are, again, I don't want to spoil too much, but there are different areas of the port which correspond to times of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one that was written by Meg Giant, who writes for us occasionally.
Who you will know from 80 Days
yes.
and other various things. Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah, she's done some fairly serious stuff, and she's great. She wrote Barchus and The Isle of Cats for Sun the Sea, which is very popular.
For obvious reasons.
I'm going to pop in, just check and see if we have any. Will we run into any old Masters of Bizarre, maybe? Stephen's Tower, yeah, I think that's right, yeah. The little bat creature, Mr. Pennies.
He is adorable.
He's yes, he's got that sort of slightly Paddington look.
If anything, Toby drew him too adorably.
Yeah, we had to tone down the adorability by about 5%. Oh, I'm getting a look now. Yeah, so Perdurance, yes, that's Meg, and which also features an area called Skyhenge. Might change that, not sure. Which is, again, time is a big thing in Albion, as I'm sure you've worked out. Time is a particularly big deal in Brabazon, where you can go on a tour of Brabazon, but it has this sort of classic sci-fi conceit where time moves more quickly if you're in the work world. So you have to be careful, because if you get stranded there, you could lose days and days and days in a matter of days. And then, of course, there's London itself with the Throne of Hours and
Her Royal Majesty, presumably.
Yes, indeed, sitting there. You can't quite see her. Well, I think you can sort of see her chair if you angle your ship around now. And which one have I forgotten? God.
I'm only naming the ones that I've seen on screenshots.
Let's go for it. London, Brabazon, Perdurance, Walbury, Royal Society, Run Out has. Clockwork Sun. Another one forgotten. We forgot about the Avid Horizon. Kind of a giant shout out to Sun and Sea fans as well.
Like literally giant. You couldn't get any more giant in the game.
I mean, has anyone had a chance to have a look around these? I'm curious to see what you think. Avid was very interesting because it's actually one of the most complicated ones to make, and I thought it was going to be one of the most easy ones to make. Because the idea here is that you remember the Avid Horizon in Sun and Sea is the gate to the stars, and so we wanted to show what it was like at the other end. So you've got the gate itself, and then there's a sort of dilapidated landing station, which used to be like this sort of Ellis Island of, is it Ellis Island?
Yeah.
Yeah. Of the high wilderness, but has since been closed down. So it's basically they've got like a refectory where you can get a really rubbishy cup of tea.
Lovely.
And then
True to life.
Between the gate and the landing station, there is AC, which you fly over rather than upon. And I've put a few Easter eggs in the sea. I'll be interested to see if you can find all of them.
Yes, you'll definitely have to let us know if you find them. Feel free to message us, tweet us, etc.
And then there's lots of there are lots of cultists on the sea, and you can align yourself with various cults, depending on your mood. Some of them are sort of crazed, and some of them are very aesthetic.
Only some of them.
Yeah, pretty much all crazed actually.
I love those sane cults that we have.
The horizons are connected. They were. The gate is now shut. For reasons that will become clear later. And also because we couldn't put Sun and Sea in Sun and Skies, and that would have taken a very long time.
Are you sure you don't want to do that?
I kind of do. But yeah, there are lots of little bits of the last game in there, both in terms of content and art.
And somebody's asked what the next zone or region is, and that is Eleutheria.
Yeah, well pronounced.
Right. I'm trying to prep myself for once I get there. But don't ask me to spell it.
There are some ports in there that are hard for Ashlis, I'm not sure. Eleutheria, we are just starting work on that now, actually.
And what kind of vibe is that compared to Albion or The Reach?
Really different. I'm very excited for this one, actually. Eleutheria is super dark. Literally super dark. It's... Again, Chris will probably slap me for giving too much lore. I'm not going to tell you why it's super dark, but it is. And we've been experimenting this week with ways of conveying that in the game. I think we've got some really good stuff. Maybe next time we do this, I'll share a couple of concepts.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
We've been looking at a lot of pictures by a guy called Caspar David Friedrich, who look up if you don't know him, because his stuff is amazing. It's sort of dark and pagan and sort of bacchanal-y. So there's a sort of touch of ancient Greece and ancient civilizations generally. Space and Nilfheim, yeah, not far off. So yeah, no, that one's. It's the other thing with Eleutheria is it's going to be quite a bit more dangerous. Terror will be more of a thing then, and managing terror will be more of a thing. We're building a lot of the sort of beasties and discoveries and so on around the idea of terror. And I don't know if I should share this or not. I think I'll say that.
We'll keep some secrets.
And the other thing we're working on at the moment, our next release, which will be what, month from now, is it?
Yeah.
Is all about threat. We've been paying a lot of attention to the sort of grand scale world building and putting in mechanics and so on and so forth. But what we want to concentrate on for a bit is the sort of moment to moment experience of the game. So what it's like getting from A to B. And part of that, what makes that experience interesting, I think, is that getting to B should be an achievement.
Yes, definitely.
At the moment, the game is in a way quite generous to you. There's always a good chance you'll come out of a journey with more stuff than you started with. You might run into a wreck or a discovery and so on and so forth. So we're looking at adding more hazards, things like weather.
That's very exciting.
And discoveries that will damage you. And just generally making the whole place feel a bit more dangerous. And we'll be looking at the survival mechanics and tightening them up.
I think Chris is writing some nightmares as well.
Yeah.
Which is exciting.
Oh, the nightmares are great. So yeah, that's what we're up to now. Oh, somebody's asked a question.
Yes, let us know if you have any more questions, and because we'll switch to Lesleyann in a minute. And it's really helpful if you can @Failbetter us when you ask the question, because then we can see it better on the screen. Favorite beastie in the game so far? What do you reckon?
Oh, I like the guests best. The guests best. I'm guessing people have run into the guests if they're playing the game at all. This is such a sort of a deliciously horrible concept. It's these strange, wormy creatures.
They're not pleasant.
But that infest locomotives. So you don't see them in their natural habitat generally. You just see a little tackety scout tootling along, and you pop up to say hello, and suddenly tentacles burst out of the front of this thing. And it makes the sound cuts have done the most amazing sound work on it. It just sounds utterly disgusting. And it fires a gun that doesn't have a name in game at the moment, but in Unity it's known as the guest gack gun, because it just fires lumps of gack at you with a big sort of splotchy noise.
Excellent. I think for me it would have to be the Scribe Spinsters still, because I enjoyed one of their earlier iterations that looked like post-it notes were coming off of them.
That's right, I forgot about that, yeah.
Which has kept a little place in my heart.
Without giving too much away, the Scribe Spinsters are a really big deal in Eleutheria. They've got a whole bunch of lore attached to that.
Excellent.
So
I've chosen appropriately then.
you'll be seeing more of them. Yes, space weather. That is definitely the plan. Hope there are some maenads. Yeah, it might be. Oh, funny you should say that. Actually, we're again not giving too much away, but we're doing a bit of work on the skybox, which is what you're seeing right down there at the bottom. When all other things clear, there is the skybox remains. And we wanted to make it feel a bit more dynamic, because it feels sort of slightly flat, I think, for the moment after you know.
Yeah, if there's nothing else over it.
So we're giving that some depth and letting it move a bit and just making it feel more spacey. And adding sexy nebulas, as Ayazan says. Exactly right.
Direct quote from the brief.
Yes, well, it will be. So yeah, it's just doing lots of stuff at the moment.
Cool. I think we will switch to Lesleyann. But if you guys have any more questions, obviously feel free to ask us in here, or you can always tweet Mr. Paul himself. And he's been releasing some sneak peek artwork things on his Twitter recently, if you want to go have a peruse of that.
Yep, I might throw a few more out in the next week or so.
Including one of my favorite gifts, which is the flags.
Oh, they're great, yeah.
So eerie and lovely.
Right, tips off if I can.
Yes, thank you for being on. I'm sure we'll have you back soon.
Bye.
That's all right.
Sorry.
Hello. Welcome to what looks like NASA.
It does, this is Command Central.
And if you can find the lapel bit, yeah, there you go. It's already on, so if you just pin it, then you'll be all good.
Oh, otherwise.
I feel like I should have a segue music or some flashy screen that comes on.
Oh, this is really hard to pin on.
Yes, they are quite stubborn actually. But they're both working today, which I feel like is a win.
So who's here?
We've got quite a few regulars.
Yes. And
somebody whose ticket you'll be answering later because they can't get into the game.
Oh no! Send us an email. I'll sort that out. Spoiled chestnut. Boss, as in boss, fallen under one of my beta testers, right? Hi. Right. So.
Yeah. So I thought it would be cool to have you on, particularly to talk about Albion, because I'm sure that out of all of us, you have been in it literally the most recently.
Yes. Hi, boss. So our babies live, and it's so beautiful.
It is. It's definitely. I love seeing all the shift in colors from one region to the next.
Yeah, it's really different. I hope that really comes across. And we have, I put a feedback thread up on the forums this afternoon, so go and comment there. Just generally anything about Albion. We want to know what you think about all aspects. So I know that's a big ask because that's an entire new region, so I expect you to be busy this weekend.
I wonder how long, do you know how long it would take to like casually go through Albion? You don't have to know.
No,
No, Haley, why are you asking me
hours now,
specific
yes,
questions?
ask me that, hours. I don't.
I just know that,
there's a lot of content there though.
yes, our players love to just rush through and see everything because you're like very keen to explore. So I wouldn't be surprised if we had a bunch of people do that this weekend.
There's actually a few people who've already like sent us some bug reports. And some of them I've had to say, right, I need to see your save file in order to understand this. They've sent me their save file, and I'm actually really like shocked at how, like, looking at all their qualities, like, oh my god, look how busy you've been, and how much of Albion you've uncovered from the chart. It's like, you've been really busy. Have you actually slept?
Yes, have any of you actually slept?
Once I do hope to send you a tweet again. Oh. Yes, that's okay. Spoiled Chestnut, send me that. I will answer your questions as best I can.
And I'm sure River Ciel I'm butchering that name. I am so sorry. Because I know that Ciel is sky in French, so I'm sure that has to have a nicer pronunciation than I just gave it. But I'm sure that Lesleyann will get to you as well.
Yes, I will. I've still got a few in my inbox that I'm working my way through.
You've been very busy.
Yes, there's been steam coming off my fingers.
Very appropriate.
And well, the cost we've sort of lowered the cost to get into Albion for early access. So normally to get a permit, I think it's you have to trade in 3 ministry stamped permits. So that's the thing that we've like got rid of for early access. So at the moment, there's first class travel, which is a ministry stamp permit, or second class, which is 2 barrels of hours, and you can get them from Prosper, which is right next to it. So
yeah, we definitely want to get people in.
It should be easy to get there. It's whether you get back.
Yes. I was very proud of you in that moment. Let's see. The change in the logo and promo art. So that actually has to do a bit on my side of things in marketing, although obviously it's very connected to the art as well. But basically, as we were gearing up to release Albion, we knew that that would be another chance to talk to everybody, fans, the press, etc. So we wanted to make sure that we were doing everything as good as we could, basically. And to do that, we got in touch with a bunch of different marketing professionals, consultants from various different places in the games industry and some outside of the games industry to take a look at everything for us and see if there were any weaknesses or things like that. And one of the things that came up was the spacing of the logo and how it was quite difficult to read, particularly on Steam, because all the like little images are so tiny. So all that combined into us doing this sort of hero art and logo refresh, and Toby just like knocked it out of the park and made this beautiful space train wreck full of like moodiness and loveliness.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
And we're going to print it off and frame it because we've moved offices, we're putting up all our artwork, and we need some new artwork as well. So we're going to print off a load of Toby's stuff.
Yeah.
That's one of them.
And if anybody does happen to come to Res here in London next week, we have it on a sticker that you can take that we're really excited about because they're vinyl and really nice and show off all the purples and deliciousness and the spilled tea and everything. Oh, thank you. You can't actually see the rest of the mask, but it's because it's like a hugely ginormous t-shirt, but definitely repping the BioShock.
So if any of you got any more Albion questions?
Yes.
I guess.
Or tips, I suppose.
Yeah.
You looked at me dubiously.
You're gonna die. I'm keen to know what everybody's, where everybody's been so far, and what you've encountered. Has anybody encountered any of the new beasties?
Oh man.
They're tough.
They are tough. Although, to be honest, I'm my own
Silence.
worst. Yeah, I'm my own worst enemy. Like, I don't even need the beasties to attack me because I fly into everything. So, particularly dogs.
Yeah. It pulls you in now.
I know, but for some reason that made it worse for me, and now I just go directly into the side. Like, momentum brings me there. But no, it's good, and that is a lovely feature because it looks amazing. Yeah.
That is nice. No other questions?
I'm sure they have questions. There's just the lovely lag that we have.
It was really strange actually. I was watching a little bit of the stream earlier on, and obviously because of the lag, a few seconds behind, I would see James walking through the door, and then a moment later on the screen he would walk through again. It's very strange. A question.
Let's see.
A mysterious egg hatched on my ship. Oh dear, you poor thing. I'm not sure if that was the end of it, or if the plot plays into something later, maybe in Albion. Well, again, I don't want to give away too much, but I don't think it necessarily plays into something in Albion because we release the curator's eggs that you can pick them up in the Reach, and yeah, sometimes they do hatch on your ship.
Hooray!
And sometimes, nothing terrible comes of that, and sometimes terrible things come of it. So I think you're going to have to wait and see. It's going to be a surprise for you.
A fun surprise.
There's lots of variants on that story. So my advice would always be to try and get that back to an egg seller and make some money from it, and not have creepy things roaming around your ship.
Though I enjoy that, particularly from the imagery of the curator's eggs, like Discovery, that you think that something cute would come out of it.
Oh yeah.
Because that would not be my first thought.
I think people want to keep it as a pet.
Yeah, well,
I'll hold on to this. It'll be very sweet and cute. No.
Very terrifying.
The ways in and out of Albion. If the political climate of the Reach gets too chaotic, to use normal paths.
I'm sure that must be something we're still working on balancing, because obviously that is more world statey.
Yeah.
And therefore relies on a lot from the game.
Yeah. So that's definitely not finished. And at the moment there is only one way in and out of it, which is that relay gate.
And unfortunately we would normally turn to Chris in the chat and ask him this, because that would definitely be something he would be in charge of, but he's on holiday today.
Sometimes nothing terrible happens. Yeah, there's a fair, yeah, you're right, Bask.
You mentioned the beasties. Is there a particular favorite of yours, or is there any tidbits you can tell us about the ones that are in Albion?
A favourite? I don't like fighting a curator because they're cute. Cute and furry, and that's terrible fighting those. Scornflukes are probably my favourite to fight because they're a bit scary.
Yeah.
And really deadly.
And they have cool attacks.
And they do really cool attacks, but tough little beasts. But you can easily work out their their attacks and sort of work out how to kill them efficiently. I think I also liked. I think it's the Star-Maddened Explorers, who are a bit like the Marauders, for me really slow. So you can kind of poke them and they're like, what? And they turn really, really slowly towards you.
Presumably in an intimidating fashion.
Presumably, but I just think they look a bit stupid.
Okay, well then maybe not.
They're tough again, but it sort of gives you time to outmaneuver them.
Yeah.
So I like
You say that, but you should see me try to outmaneuver anything.
So yes, Scornflukes are probably my favourite. They're good. So have fun finding those.
That was definitely one of my favorite things to fit into the trailer, the attack. It looks so nice and swirly and lovely. Although they kind of remind me of angry sea urchins, but that's okay.
Yes.
Trying to think of what else I can ask you specifically about Albion. Was there anything that was harder than the rest to sort of sort through in regards to like checking for bugs or any bugs that appeared compared to the Reach?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm trying to think a lot.
And there may not be either.
No, I don't. There was a lot to test, obviously.
I can imagine. Albion is huge.
So it was more a case of like, oh, so much to get through, so little time.
Yeah, definitely.
But I had a lot more tools at my disposal this time. So I've got access to Unity now, and it's very easy to go and find the things I want. Whereas when I tested the discoveries in the Reach, for example, didn't have that access, so I was literally wandering around thinking, oh, I hope I find some flotsam soon, because I need to test this thing. So it was much easier.
So you've been upgraded.
Yes.
Yeah.
Testing is so much faster. So I don't think there was anything that was hard to test, more just the volume of everything.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff.
So many things.
And a lot of it functionality stuff as well. So I've not been through like all of the content. The content team obviously go through, write it and test it in different iterations, but there's a lot of that I haven't seen myself. So
of course,
I'm looking forward to that, just like you guys are.
I think somebody has mentioned, does this mean we'll learn more about the rubberies? Well, that is definitely a content question.
Where's Chris when you need him?
I know a little something about it, but I think it's more interesting if you find it yourself later. Scorn Flukes, is that the eye thing? That is the large, what's the full name? Giant Scorn Flukes, right?
Yeah, I think its code name is just the Thing in the Mist. It really is the Thing in the Mist. Yeah, that thing, that scary thing.
Although admittedly we like to create a menagerie of scary things, so.
Yeah, there's a lot of creepy stuff in Albion. I think it's a much scarier place than the Reach. In fact, during development I saw very little of the art and all the segments, so when I started testing it, my reaction was really that reaction that you're going to have playing it. So when I first saw the Clockwork song, I was like,
oh my god,
it was just swearing, a string of profanity. So yeah, I just had this overall feeling of Albion. It's like, it's beautiful, but it's like, it's busy and it's dirty and grimy and it's not safe. And I really wanted to run back to the Reach where it's green and pretty and
yeah. Although that's definitely like a more wild thing, but yeah, I feel like as soon as you, especially since you enter through Brabazon, like as soon as you get there, you feel that it's very different from the Reach, and it feels like almost claustrophobic because of all the civilization that's around. So
you're right, the Reach is like this wild, untamed place, but I think it's so familiar to me now. It's like, oh, it's nice, it's pretty, it's safe. We all know the Reach, it's fine. But yeah, Albion was this huge unknown to me, and things creeping around in fog. It's
oh yeah, the fog too.
Far more than just the giant Scornfluke thing. There's lots of nasty things creeping around.
And I imagine there's plenty of secrets for you to uncover in the actual content itself, which I think are quite horrifying, but more on the side of bureaucracy. But no less terrifying. Speaking of the mists, are the Leviathan dragons out yet? I'm going to say that's a question for a later time. Constant companion still haunting you. Yes, that. We hear that a lot, and I think it still haunts a lot of people at Failbetter as well. I think one of my favorite things is that not too long ago somebody thought that some of the promo art that we have for Sunless Sea that has the eye in it was just marketing art and didn't realize that it's actually in the game.
Nice.
And then they found it in the game and were terrified, so I really appreciate that. Just trying to see if you have any more questions, definitely now is the time, because you are kind of our expert on actual playing as well, I think. Yeah.
Albion. So there's a publication.
I think Paul actually just mentioned one of those, which is the port of the Royal Society, which was supposed to be in the Reach originally, and then we changed it to Albion, which Paul mentioned briefly that it has sprinklers, which I think is a great way to show that it's no longer in the Reach, because obviously the Londoners and the Stovepipes want their nice green lawns, but a bit harder in Albion.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've ever switched any beasties or locomotives to other regions.
No, I mean, there's some crossover.
Yeah.
So guests, Cantancrai, all in the Reach, you know, you'll see them in Albion. There's some taxies and things in there as well. And, you know, we might end up reskinning things like that. But, you know, yeah, they turn up. But that's intentional. And I think maybe in the early days we might have, like you said, like we did move that port. But now I think everything is really tightly locked down into which ports are going to be in which region, and you know, the design planning that we go through. Because
that's a whole thing. People, we work on teams, so there's like a writer, an artist, and a designer who work together like in a day to do one segment that you see. So it's a lot of really heavy focused thinking and planning to make sure that all the discoveries and the beasties and the other locomotives and things like that are all cohesive. Yeah,
I mean, we're always going to make a few little like changes. So for Albion, originally the gate was the transit gate opened up into near the Royal Society.
Oh yeah.
And then we were like, no, this does not feel like it's got that kind of like oomph and that bang. So like, let's move it to Brabazon, and I think that really works well. It's a real contrast. Whereas before it was like, oh, okay, a few clouds.
Slightly different. Yeah. And yeah, like you said too, I'm sure that as we go on, if there was anything that we felt like didn't fit, we still have that time to switch things around.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. What's your ideal locomotive setup?
Something big with guns. Many guns. What's your ideal ship setup?
I'm imagining that your locomotive is just guns. Like you somehow have your own like Lesleyann one that you use for QA.
Yeah, just. I'm really looking forward to when we actually put some more weapons into the game, because I mean I like what's there, but and it's very effective. But I just want more guns. Because I'm stopping and starting a lot with testing with different saves, I tend just to use the little spatchcock. But I mean, I'm partial to the Moloch just because it's so
I was going to say, I think when we did our first on-stream like gameplay, you chose the Moloch.
I did.
So
Because they were like, this is terrible, really, to tease play people, because I'm sure nobody can afford this yet. But look at this shiny ship. So like, we're doing this anyway. I do like the Altani, which is the new one that you can get at London. That just looks really sleek and pretty to me. But I like things with just a big hold and lots of hold for fights. So
all the things.
All the things. And there's a lot of equipment in game now. There's a couple of new pieces at London, but there are also new pieces at the Royal Society, which you don't buy with sovereigns, you buy with experimental modifications. That's right. And it will say at the moment that, you know, you can only equip this if you've got like 50 hearts or something like that, which we've had to remove that. We didn't change the text, because we will be adding it back in, but for now, you can equip those without, you know, being constricted by those quality requirements. So go there and have fun, but there's loads of equipment now, so you can really expand your hold and your hull. It's great.
Which I'm sure everybody would be super thrilled about, because I have heard a lot about wanting more hold space and things.
Yes.
So expect any new trains to purchase this update. I think you just mentioned one.
Yeah, the Altani. There are going to be more when Eleutheria comes out. I think another 2 with that. But don't quote me on that. I can't remember for sure how many. Can we expect the return of the rats?
Well, you're asking the right person.
Yes. Anything ratty that I can get in, into the game, I will.
And she tries very hard.
Rats.
Yeah. I mean, we're all pretty pro rat here at Failbetter anyways, but not quite as much.
No, my desk is covered in rats. So I don't actually know the answer to that, whether we will, you know, they will see a return, but...
Yeah, it might be worth saving that one for Chris as well. And same thing with the crew, because I know that that's one of the things that will presumably... We focus on, obviously, different things every sprint, and a lot of the stuff that we do is by region, but those are one of the things that I think happens more across the board, because we know that they're going to exist all throughout the game. So they might not be until a later bit in development.
This is a player after my own heart. Look, more locomotives, equipment, and guns. Yes. To blow stuff up.
That's excellent. And then, is there what are you excited about with the next release as well? Because I think Paul teased a little bit about the threat release, but is there anything that you're excited or think they'll be excited to hear about?
Oh, there's one thing, but there is one thing. It's only a small thing, but I love it. But I'm actually trying to think whether it's actually going to be in the threat release or the one after that.
Oh, that's okay. As long as it's, you know, sometime in the near future.
So I'm looking forward to the new scouts when they come.
Yes.
Not just because of their functionality, and scouts are going to. Some scouts will be better than others. Some are a little bit lazy. Some are like really, well trained. So they'll find different number of things on the chart, and which that's cool. But the slet through the storylet through which you will acquire them, it's just so adorable.
Oh, now I want to see it.
It really, it was delightful reading through it, and just the little scouts. They've got so much personality, and I really want to reveal one of them, but I'm.
I definitely already enjoy the one that we have, so I can only imagine that having more options and learning their different personalities.
Yeah, and I
fun.
think we're going to add to the little phrases that that they give out when you send them out, because at the moment the bat just says, it either sulks, or I think it just sulks.
Yeah, it just sulks.
Either way, there's
it's
two
one of
options
those.
And he's always sulking. So we're going to give that more flavour.
It's like the teenager scout, it's fine. And also I would say that I think that's one of the many things, there's many things we enjoy, but particularly one day we started discussing the different types of animals they could be and things like that, and everybody was super excited to be discussing it, and it was quite a hilarious conversation, so I hope that you all enjoy it as well when they come out. Flamigans! Funny you should say that.
Yeah, so Toby's been working on the art for that, hasn't he?
Yes, terrifyingly
awesome.
so.
We haven't shown that yet, have we?
I don't think so.
Right.
We were talking about it for something else the other day, but no, I don't think anyone's seen it yet.
They are amazing.
And a thing of my nightmares, but I'm sure everybody will enjoy them. And I'm not quite sure when they'll be coming out, but I would imagine sometime soon. But it was it's quite a broad task for us, because not only do they have to be in Skies, but since the Kickstarter reward, they have to be in all 3 games. So it's kind of working with everybody to make sure that we can get them into Fallen London and Sunless Sea as well. But yeah, Flanagan hype all the way. Yeah. You'll be so excited. Every time somebody has accidentally seen them on Toby's screen, we've all shrieked with joy, so. Cool. If anybody else has any last questions for Lesleyann, that'd be great. Although obviously you're on the forums and stuff all the time.
Yeah,
and
you can find me there and go and leave your feedback for Albion.
And I'm sure at one point you've all written her a bug report as well. So.
Sure you have.
But yeah, I think that we're all really excited to have Albion out now, and we can't wait to show you all the other stuff that we've been working on. So it's also nice to be back on the podcast, because I don't think we've had one for a while.
We had to miss the last one, didn't we, because of the weather?
Yes. Oh yeah, the one random day that it snowed here in London and everything shut down.
But it really snowed.
Yes.
And some of us live quite far away, so it's
some of us.
I'm not going to get home.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I think before that as well, because I don't know, it might have been when we were moving offices and things like that. But now we're, as you have seen our lovely little office tour, we're nicely situated, and I'm sure that we will be having more podcasts. I know that you want to do some gameplay stuff next time, which I think will be really exciting.
Yes, I kept badgering you to
Yeah.
do it. I'm like, can we not do a stream? Can we not do a stream? I'm like, no.
I mean, but that's the attitude I want from you. So. All of you have been poisoned this time. What kind of question is that?
Yeah. Come on.
All right. Well, I think since the questions have run out, we shall close for now. But as always, thank you for joining us, and I hope we'll see you around next time.
Yes. See you soon.
And now you get to stare at my face while I close down the app. Hooray!